Hey gang, what's good? Welcome to my Morrowind video guide all about Alchemy. Alchemy is one of several utility skills in Morrowind. You can use it to easily earn gold, sustain your character in combat, and create some incredible enchanted items. As well as, of course, potions. As always, feel free to use the provided timestamps to skip around if you're already confident with certain aspects. Okay, let's get to it then! Your alchemy skill is increased through two methods. The first and most simple is by just eating a raw ingredient. When you eat a raw ingredient, your alchemy skill will progress by 0.5 points, and you'll have a chance to receive the first listed effect on the given ingredient. On screen now is the formula used to determine this chance. From this, we can tell that your alchemy skill denotes your base success chance. Every 5 points of intelligence or every 10 points of luck further increases your success chance by 1%. Lastly, as is the case with most things, this is multiplicatively impacted by the fatigue modifier. Your fatigue modifier is essentially your current fatigue relative to your maximum fatigue. Your modifier can be as high as a bonus 25% at full fatigue or as low as a negative 25% at empty fatigue. Now, you may notice that durations and magnitudes for such effects are not listed on individual ingredients. These are determined, in part, by using the result of the success chance formula. This is where things start to get a little complicated. On screen now are the various formulae used to calculate the duration and magnitude of the provided effect. Don't worry if this seems confusing. Fortunately, most of this information is totally inconsequential to us during gameplay. There's just two key things to keep in mind. The first being that the duration and magnitude scales directly off of everything that's also used to calculate your success chance. So a higher success chance means higher duration and magnitude. Secondly, ingredients with spell effects that have higher base costs will tend to also have lower magnitudes. Mind you that base costs refers to the magicka cost of a spell effect if you were to cast it as a spell. While consuming raw ingredients is often terribly inefficient, it can be helpful if you're in a tight spot, especially in the case of the luminous Rasula fungus. If you're underwater and in danger of drowning, you can eat this mushroom, as it's the only ingredient in the entire game with water breathing as its first effect. Even just 1 second of water breathing is enough to completely refill your air gauge, no matter how empty it is. Before we move on, there's one more thing we need to cover while we're on the topic of alchemy ingredients. That's exactly how we're able to see each of the 4 effects in the first place. This is based on your alchemy level. At alchemy level 15, you can see the first effect. At alchemy 30, the second effect becomes visible. At level 45, the third, and at 60, the fourth effect. An easy way to remember this is that each threshold is at increments of 15. With that out of the way, let's look at the second method for increasing your alchemy skill, which is also far more practical. That's creating your own potions. Each potion you mix advances your alchemy skill by 2 points. In Morrowind, to begin mixing potions, you need at least a mortar and pestle of any quality. There's several other tools as well, but we'll cover them all in detail later on. After you've used your mortar and pestle, you'll need to pick at least 2 ingredients from your inventory to combine. A potion is created when you mix 2 or more ingredients with at least one identical effect. Fortunately, you don't need to have the ingredients' effects visible in order to create a potion. If you know the recipe by heart, or maybe you found a recipe in-game, you can use that information to create a potion. For example, a handy recipe to remember is that salt rice, marshmallow, and wickwheat can all be used to create a restore health potion. These are all ingredients that grow in abundance in certain regions of Morrowind and are often found in the dwellings that you'll be exploring. Not to mention, all 3 of them also have a weight of just 0.1. The weight of your ingredients is important because the weight of the potion you create is the average of all of the weights of the ingredients that went into making it. Now, it is important to know that unlike in later games, potions with only negative effects cannot be applied to your weapon and used offensively. Instead, using such a potion just makes your character consume it like any other potion. So the practical use for a harmful potion is really just to sell it to a merchant for gold. Now, let's look at the formula used to calculate your success chance when attempting to create a potion. As you can see, the Alchemy success chance formula is surprisingly simple relative to many other formulae. You'll see that your base success chance is your alchemy skill level. From there, every 10 points of intelligence or 10 points of luck increase the success chance by 1%. This is a little weird because intelligence and luck are weighted equally, so it's a little bit more difficult to get a 100% success chance. And of course, you'll also notice that the fatigue modifier is also not taken into account here. Finally, we can see that our alchemy equipment isn't a factor either. So, if they're not used here, then what do all these pieces of alchemy equipment do? Well, let's take a look at each individual piece of equipment and what its function is in creating a potion. The mortar and pestle is where it all begins, and is used in the formulae for determining a potion's base duration and base magnitude. A calcinator, retort, and alembic all impact the base duration and base magnitude in different ways. The calcinator will increase duration and magnitude of all effects. The retort increases the duration and magnitude of only the positive effects. Finally, the alembic reduces the duration and magnitude of negative effects. So, if you only use created potions with positive effects, an alembic is kind of unnecessary. It's worth noting that skooma pipes can also be used as an extremely poor quality alembic. Unfortunately though, you can't actually create skooma in Morrowind, at least not without mods. Okay, now let's take a look at the various formulae used in these calculations. As you can see, it's quite complex with all of the modifiers from different pieces of equipment. It's insane to expect anyone to regularly run numbers through these formulae. Thankfully though, we really only need to know two things, that being the general function of each piece of alchemy equipment, and that our success chance for creating a potion in the first place has a direct impact on the duration and magnitude of our potions. So, if we want higher duration or magnitude, we just need to increase our success chance. Of course, before we move on, we need to take a quick look at the quality stat assigned to each piece of equipment. This stat is used in the formulae that we just went over. Now, the important thing here is that when concerning the formulae we just looked at, calcinators and retorts have their quality stat rounded to the nearest whole number. This means that there's really only two tiers of quality when it comes to calcinators and retorts. Grandmaster tier gets rounded to 2, and everything else gets rounded to just 1. There is a secret master tier of quality, but such equipment isn't accessible without the use of mods or console commands. Now that we know the ins and outs of alchemy, let's go over where you can get some good equipment. If you aren't above theft, you can easily get a full set of master tier alchemy equipment extremely early on at the Caldera Mages Guild. From Sidenine, you can buy passage via Siltstrider to Balmora, and then buy the services of the Balmora Mages Guild to teleport you from the Balmora Mages Guild Hall to Caldera's Guild Hall. From there, the full set of equipment is easy pickings with nobody around to witness the crime. You can also steal a Grandmaster tier mortar and pestle from the alchemist in Balmora, but this is just a little harder to pull off. Lastly, while there's several other locations you can find them, there's a full set of Grandmaster tier equipment available at the stronghold Valen Varion in the most northern reaches of the Ashlands. You can either buy them from the vendor here, or try your hand at stealing them if you're so inclined. Be wary though, the exterior of the stronghold is guarded by several hostile NPCs. They'll prove a challenge for low-level or unprepared characters. Finally, we're going to cover the concept of daisy chaining potions, specifically Fortify Intelligence potions. Through doing this, you'll easily be able to reach absurd levels of intelligence and thus reap the benefits of high-end alchemy, among other things. The steps involved are simple enough. First and foremost, we'll need to hoard a stockpile of Fortify Intelligence ingredients. In Morrowind, there's 4 ingredients that contain the coveted Fortify Intelligence effect. These are ash yams, bloat, netch leather, and horker tusk. Mind you that horker tusk is only found in the Blood Moon expansion. If you're having trouble gathering large amounts of these ingredients for when you decide to go through this whole process, you should know that there's a few vendors who sell them. Perhaps most notably is Mayra Drora, who resides in the temple at Nissus. She regularly restocks her supplies of bloat and netch leather, essentially giving you access to an infinite supply of Fortify Intelligence potions. It's worth noting that because many alchemy ingredients have low prices, it's pretty easy to buy out a merchant's cheaper stock of ingredients, mix up potions that are far more valuable than the cost, and just sell the potions back to the merchant. It's kind of like free money. Anyways, now that we've got our ingredients, we'll mix up 1 Fortify Intelligence potion. Then we'll consume it and quickly exit our menus to ensure that the effect is applied to our character. Next, we'll use our newly fortified intelligence to make another slightly stronger Fortify Intelligence potion. We'll repeat this process as necessary until our intelligence reaches desired levels. Just be careful if you go as far as 50,000 or more intelligence. Around this level, you run the risk of crashing the game's engine. Of course, if you're running the game on older hardware, this warning applies even more so. Anyways, you'll eventually be making potions with several 100-point magnitudes and that have durations that last multiple days. High intelligence also pays off in better odds when attempting to perform enchantments, as well as casting powerful custom spells. Alright, I think that just about covers everything I can think of related to Morrowind's Alchemy. Hopefully, you give Morrowind's Alchemy a try, or maybe delve deeper into it if you're already up in that business. It's personally one of my favorite parts of the game because of how high the ceiling is on any of its limitations. Anyhow, I've got an ever-expanding collection of Morrowind guides. Give them a look and see if there's anything that piques your interest. I've also got a weekly playthrough going of Morrowind on max difficulty. If you're the type of person who's into those sorts of videos, check it out as well. Thanks again for watching. Peace!